Morning. Today we're doing SCBA daily and weekly checks. The SCBA daily checks consist of is the SCBA present, ready for donning, and is the cylinder pressure at least 5,000 psi. The daily checks are done on a daily basis as part of the engine pre-trip. For the SCBA weekly checks, they're done every Wednesday of the month. And in addition, anytime the SCBA is used, it is cleaned and checked before being placed back into service. If the SCBA fails any portion of the weekly check, then it is placed out of service and forwarded to the SCBA coordinator. The SCBA weekly checks, every time we do one, we open up a new page on Keep Track, and then that automatically notifies the SCBA coordinator that the check has been done. So now we'll move on to doing our weekly check. The weekly check begins with pulling the release strap and ensuring the mechanism is working properly. Take the SCBA out, put it on the ground. Okay, now that we have the SCBA out of the engine, we will begin with our visual inspection for the SCBA. We'll start with the harness. We'll make sure that it's in the ready to don position. It's free from twist, tangles, or knots, tears, or fraying, and it is clean. And we will then move on to the back frame. We will check the back frame, make sure that it's free from any cracks or damage, and all of the components on the frame are secure. We'll then check the hose, following along the hose, looking for bubbles, cracks, fraying, or deterioration, and that it's clean. Then we'll get to the face mask. We'll check the lens, make sure it's free from any cracks or major scratches. We'll check the webbing, make sure that it is in the ready to don position and it is free from fraying or deterioration. The rubber components are seated properly in the mask and they're free from deterioration. And that completes the visual inspection of the SCBA. We'll then move on to the physical inspection. Physical inspection begins with checking that the cylinder pressure is at least 5,000 psi. This one looks like it's full all the way to 5,500. If it's not full, if it's not over 5,000 psi, then we'll top it off. All the cylinders and the reserve cylinders are topped off on the fourth Wednesday of every month. We'll then depress the yellow reset button to check the battery level, and green light indicates there's adequate battery. It will show up on the pressure gauge and on the two other spots on the back frame where the lights are. We will then depress the manual alert button. 2 clicks of the yellow button silences the alarm. 2 more clicks deactivates the alarm. I'll then make sure that my doffing switch and my purge valve are closed. Purge valve, doffing switch are closed, and I will open up the cylinder valve and charge the system with air. I listen for the vibra and the pack alert to activate. The 3 chirps indicates that it activates. If the vibra and the pack alert do not activate, then I will turn the air off, or turn the cylinder off, bleed the air out of the system, reset the system, turn it on again, and then if it still does not activate, then the SCBA will be placed out of service. I'll make sure that the heads-up display activates. After 20 seconds, it should display 2 green lights, indicating that there is adequate battery life. If a round red light stays on after it goes through its startup procedure, that indicates that the batteries need to be changed. The batteries are located on the back frame right here. There's 6 AA batteries. They have to be Duracell or Energizer only. I'll then check to make sure that my pressure gauge matches my cylinder gauge within 200 psi. I will listen for leaks at the cylinder valve, the pressure reducer block, the hoses, and the regulator and pressure gauge. I don't hear any leaks. At this point, I will turn off my cylinder for 1 full minute. Checking the time, so I'll know when a minute is up. During this time, I'm going to check my buddy breathing connection. remove the cap, ensure that it's free of obstructions, listen for leaks, and I will replace the cap. I'll check my universal RIT connection, check that it's free of obstructions, listen for leaks, and replace the cap. I'll then let the pack partially alarm, as you've already heard. There's two ways to silence the partial alarm. One is to shake the back frame, and the other is to depress the yellow reset button. And once I do that, then it will have been a minute. I will now open the cylinder valve to charge the system and watch the pressure gauge to ensure that there is no pressure drop over that minute. Okay, cylinder is open. There is no change in the pressure gauge. I'm now going to check the mask. I will don the mask. Tightening from bottom, middle, and then top. Inhale. Exhale. Hold my breath, listen for leaks. Check that the voice amp is working properly. Check my purge valve works. And then I will doff the mask. And when I'm doffing, use the doffing switch, turn off the voice amp, and reset the webbing to the ready to don position. I'll then let the pack go to a full alarm. It's alarming here, and here. 2 clicks silences the alarm. 2 more clicks tries to deactivate it, but the chirps tell me that there's still air in the system, so I need to close the cylinder valve. And then I will let air slowly out of the system while watching the heads-up display and match it up with the pressure gauge. One green light. 1 yellow light. Exercise the vibra valve for 5 seconds. Let all the rest of the air out of the system. And then I will let the pack go to full alert one more time. Silence the alarm, deactivate the alarm, and then log it and keep track. And that concludes the SCBA daily and weekly checks. So now that we're done with our SCBA weekly checks, we'll have to make sure that we gotta sanitize or disinfect our regulator and our mask. So we're gonna use our Fresh Gear disinfectant. Give the regulator some sprays. Spray the mask where it's touched your face and your mouth. And then we need to wait 10 minutes. See you in 10 minutes. And just like magic, 10 minutes has passed. So any excess that's still on there and hasn't dried or evaporated, we'll use a towel to wipe clean. Reassemble the mask with the regulator and make sure that we match it up with the proper SCBA. And like always, make sure your equipment's ready for donning.